Welcome to Minding the Forest, a podcast of the Louisiana Forestry Association. I'm your host, Jeff Zeringue. In Minding the Forest, we talk about sustainable forestry, the forest products industry, and the benefits of forests, especially for Louisiana. April is the month in which Earth Day is recognized. Earth Day began in 1970 and is considered the anniversary of the birth of the modern environmental movement, according to earthday.org. Sustainable forestry fits very well in the realm of conservation, and many forest landowners in Louisiana are excellent examples of how ordinary folks are doing a great job of keeping forested land in the state. In this episode, we talked to Whitney Wallace, a forestry and wildlife agent for the LSU AgCenter in the Southeast Louisiana region. We talked to Whitney at a 4-H event in Amite City, so we took advantage of the moment and was able to talk to a few young 4-Hers. That montage will follow the interview with Whitney. We hope you enjoy the episode. We have with us Whitney Wallace. Whitney is with the LSU AgCenter. She is the forestry extension agent and is wildlife mixed in there. Give us your official title.
So I am the regional forestry and wildlife agent. So I encompass the 16 parishes of the southeast portion of Louisiana.
And what do you do as an agent for LSU AgCenter?
So basically, my job is to get the research-based information from LSU to the hands of the people. That's what extension is. And so my day-to-day job is different. I go anywhere from school educational events, from reaching youth, all the way to adult-based programming, whether it's field days, educational forums, any type of meetings where we're able to bring in just landowners, loggers, forest industry, and be able to get them that information to their hands.
Good example of that was today when you had the 4-H Fest here in Amite City.
Absolutely. So we were able to reach 400 youth parish-wide, and we were able to kind of help give them some forestry facts and information and help give them some information about forestry so they can, use that information as they grow up.
Very enthusiastic, too. These kids were really great, and we have some clips that we're going to play at the end of the podcast of some of the kids. We talked to them about forestry, about trees and things of that nature. Very sharp, it was a very enjoyable day today, so we appreciate that. Over the course of your job, you talk with a lot of landowners, I imagine, and I would imagine that they're smaller landowners. The land that they own is certainly smaller in quantity, maybe 10, 20, 40 acres, things of that nature. Is that different than working with those who have larger operations or larger tree farms, things of that nature?
Absolutely. With every landowner, they're all unique, whether their land that they owned is in small acreage or large acreage. It all just depends on, what their goals and objectives are, but each and every one are unique.
We had talked about earlier, reason why we asked Whitney to come talk to us today is because Earth Day is coming up in April. April was set aside for that. I guess a good time in the spring. Everything is really visible with flowers coming out, people sneezing because of the pollen or things of that nature. But seriously, it is a wonderful time of year, and it is a time to think about conservation. And it would seem like the practices in forestry and conservation go hand in hand.
Yes, so I can agree with that. The concept of Earth Day, especially, with forestry, the practice of forestry, of course, involves the long-term protection of our natural resources. And through our active management, we're able, whether it's forest health, growth, harvest, regeneration, we're able to embrace that concept and be able to use a balanced perpetual use of protection of those forest resources. So yes, I do think forestry and Earth Day go hand in hand together.
I think that was one of the interesting things about talking to the kids, because they understand that trees are perpetual. You may have a tree that's going to be cut down, but they know that another tree is coming back. I think the interesting thing there was to get an idea of their concept of what's a lot of trees. And Louisiana really does plant a lot of trees.
Absolutely.
Over the course of the year. And that's vital because of why?
Well, I mean, it's natural regeneration. It's a renewable resource. We're able to, be able to grow it back. It's economically, you want to be able to get back what you take. So, sustainable forestry is key. We use those standards and practices in place. And, like you said earlier, every tree that's cut down in Louisiana, 16 are planted back in its place.
That's a lot of trees every year. And it's important because I guess it was a quote from Teddy Roosevelt that trees are the lungs of the world.
Yes.
And I know that sounds kind of corny and certainly old-fashioned, but it's a truth.
It is.
We certainly need them. And by your experience, especially with the young kids, tell me a little bit about your experience in working with the youth and explaining to them the importance of the regeneration of forests.
I think one key element to reaching the youth is to improve their perception and the public's perception of forestry practices. A lot of times whenever you ask the kids, is cutting trees bad? Most of the time they will say yes, but once you're able to give them some of the true facts about forest management, especially here in Louisiana, you're able to kind of be able to give them a different way of thinking about it. And if you put it in terms of a farmer, row crop farmer, tree farmers are just the same. It's just a longer rotation. Then they're able to kind of open their mind up and be able to view it as a natural part of the process. And then, yes, this is absolutely an agricultural commodity. And once you start talking about the forest products that they use on an everyday basis, whether it's Amazon boxes or toothpaste or ice cream, then the lights start clicking. They start realizing, yes, this is a valuable resource. No, it's not bad to cut them down. And this is important. And whether or not they go into a career in agriculture later on in their life, that's not as what is important to me as them realizing how valuable and how important agriculture is, so they can be our advocates whether or not they go into a career for it later on in life, that they'll be able to be the voters and the people in their parish and their state that can actively be a voice and be for it and not against it.
That is part of kind of what we're doing with Minding the Forest podcast, and it is trying to get the word out there about renewable resources, particularly with our forests. At what age, or is there an age, when the light kind of goes on and you explain to them, about the products that they use that they never realized came from trees, or that it is like a row crop, only that's bigger rows and it's planted differently, and it certainly takes a whole lot more time than one season. When does that light go off? Or go on, excuse me.
Well, I'm not sure if there's a specific age. I like to start talking to kids as young as, if they can understand what I'm talking about, if they can, just visually see a tree, then that's the time to start talking to them about it. Really, there is no minimum age, but if you're in a school age group, I think probably your elementary kids start needing to hearing about it. Absolutely. Start getting those foundations, exactly what ag is, how important it is. And that includes forestry. So, yeah, definitely. And then the age to stop is never. You need to make sure you consistently throughout the school age, be able to be a voice in these kids, day-to-day lives and their educational programming, just to, be able to help resonate to them how important agriculture is. And it's exactly what runs our country. So
the importance of the youth in grasping and understanding the reason forests are so important, and for them to take that going forward is truly priceless. And I know you work with a lot of schools that are in rural areas, and most of those kids understand a little bit better because their dad might be a farmer, their dad might be a cattleman, things of that nature. Their family might be into those particular industries. Do you get a chance to work with any more urban area schools?
So that's the thing about the Florida parishes is we have a very diverse community, whether it's rural, urban, suburban. But yes, we reach every school that we're able to, that we're allowed to. Right now, we're working with St. Tammany Parish government as well as the St. Tammany Parish School Board. We're doing adopt-a-pond programs where we're using so many of their schools, and they're coming in and they're looking at some of the detention and retention ponds and how we're able to plant some of the appropriate bottomland hardwoods in there to kind of help control the water quality, and they're able to see the importance of trees. So through those programs, we're reaching those kids. We're able to show them the importance scientifically. They're able to, be able to do all these different processes hands-on, and at the end of the day, they have a deeper appreciation. But no, we have all economic backgrounds, rural, suburban, but we're able to hit them all. In fact, this Friday I'll be going to Louisiana Day at another school in Madisonville, which is quite suburban, but those kids definitely know and appreciate agriculture, and I'm going to be able to share with them some more of our forestry facts and knowledge to help increase that knowledge.
Do you find that the children from the more urban areas, those schools in urban areas, do you find that they have overall maybe less of an idea of how important forestry is, or is that, because they don't experience it, they don't see it day to day. They are in the suburban areas, like I said, and planting a tree to them is putting it in the yard.
Absolutely.
It's not a bad thing,
yes, you're going to experience that in every school, whether it's rural or suburban. It just depends on the kid's environment and, what they're surrounded by. And if they're surrounded by, experiences that limit outside environmental influences, then that's going to definitely, impact how they think, and what they know. It's our job to kind of help bring those experiences to them, help them gain that knowledge and let them, be able to decide for themselves, what to think about it. And if that's something that, that can be of interest as a potential career, then that's something we definitely try to push. But it's one of those things, yes, right now with today's technology, there is a certain amount of disconnect, and that is a challenge for us as agents and educators to be able to kind of reach those kids because, I'm a little bit older, old school, so, having these newer technologies, it's a little bit, you got to stay up to date to be able to speak their language.
I can understand that. With Earth Day coming up in April 22nd, I think you said, and so that's coming up. Forestry fits hand in glove with that. What are some of the experiences that you have had with 4-Hers, or for that matter, any schoolers that pertain to Earth Day? Have you done anything specific to that, or is that just a year-round thing?
So we try to treat Earth Day as every day here at the AgCenter, but yes, there are certain celebrations that will bring forth, whether it's Earth Day, Arbor Day, Louisiana Day is a very big one that goes hand in hand where we celebrate everything with Louisiana, but we also celebrate everything natural, renewable natural resources to natural resources. But yeah, that's something we definitely keep in the back of our mind always, is celebrating what our resources here are in Louisiana as well as the whole earth.
Whitney Wallace with the LSU AgCenter, we thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Zori, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Kentwood, LA.
And you're in 4-H?
Yes, sir.
What do you like about 4-H?
Of how you get to explore nature a lot. You get to explore nature.
Very cool. Very cool. You are very knowledgeable about trees, are you not?
Yes, sir.
What do you like about trees?
I like how they prevent stuff, how they give us oxygen, paper, pencils, and a lot of stuff.
You do know a lot about trees. What's your favorite tree? Do you have a favorite tree?
No, sir.
What do you think is the number one crop in Louisiana?
Probably trees, because they do give us a lot of oxygen, more than likely, and a lot of paper and pencils.
Very good. They do. There are a lot of paper plants here in Louisiana, and you are very, very correct. Do you know how many trees are planted every year in Louisiana?
Probably about 10,000 a year.
10,000? No, it's more. Guess again.
A million?
Actually, more than that.
A billion?
Not a billion.
A trillion?
Not a trillion. You're getting really excited. 70 million. 16 trees for everyone who lives in Louisiana are planted every year.
Wow.
Isn't that great? 15 million acres of trees in Louisiana.
Whoa, that's cool.
Zori, do you know what you want to be when you grow up?
Probably a meteorologist.
Meteorologist. Well, you might think about forestry too because you're very knowledgeable about that.
Yeah.
Zori, thanks so much for joining us.
Yep.
Okay, we have Maddox
Yes, sir.
Forest. So your last name is Forest, so you should know a lot about trees, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you learned it from your daddy?
Yes, sir.
What does he do?
So he actually works at aluminum facility,
Okay.
but we cut our trees last year.
Okay.
So I got to learn about them a little bit more.
Actually, so tell me what you know about trees.
So we cut pine. So that was it wasn't a hardwood, so you could call it like softer. And then we cut some oaks down too, so that was a hardwood.
Mm-hmm.
And we used them for like selling it for like timber. You can make houses and cut it up for firewood.
Very good. Very good. What's your favorite thing about trees?
You can pretty much watch any bird you want in a tree and let them sit and make nests, and you can watch the squirrels.
Trees are important, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned squirrels. Do you like hunting?
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite thing to hunt?
I like shooting squirrels.
Squirrels?
Yes, sir.
That's a big thing in Louisiana, and we wouldn't have squirrels, not very many squirrels, if we didn't have trees, would we?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I was thinking about playing football, but then I'm thinking about doing agriculture.
Agriculture? Okay. Well, you're very knowledgeable about trees, so maybe you think about forestry.
Yes, sir.
All right, Maddox, thanks so much. Appreciate you stopping by.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Kenzie, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Kentwood, Louisiana, and I have a bunch of animals, mostly chickens and rabbits.
What sort of wildlife do you like besides your pets?
I like squirrels.
Would we have very many squirrels if we didn't have trees?
No, because
No.
they wouldn't have anywhere to live or make nests.
That's right. Or to eat, right?
They wouldn't have anything to eat because, not pine cones,
Acorns?
acorns come from trees, and that's what they eat.
That's right. What do trees give us?
They give us paper, pencils, and they give us everything that's cardboard or paper. And we wouldn't be able to write if we didn't have pencils, and we wouldn't have anything to write on if we didn't have paper. And we have ice cream because I'm pretty sure that the sap comes and
You
use
know about
something.
cellulose being put into ice cream? That's incredible.
Our
Where'd you learn
teacher,
that?
Miss Moss, she taught us like what they put in ice cream.
Excellent. You tell Miss Moss she's doing a very good job. Kinsley, thank you so much for dropping by. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Jolie, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Louisiana in Kentwood. I play softball. I'm student of the year.
What do you know about trees?
They can make paper.
They can make paper.
They can make pencils. They can make a lot of stuff.
Okay.
They
How-
produce
What else do they?
Oxygen.
What else is really important about trees?
they produce oxygen.
They do. And what could we breathe without that? We couldn't breathe without oxygen,
Yeah.
right?
I thought you said can we?
Oh, okay. No. So, what's your favorite tree?
A magnolia.
A magnolia. Okay. What are magnolias used for? Mostly for their blossoms, right? Okay. And they help provide pollen and things for bees and whatnot. Okay. Who's next? What is your name? Huh? Kinsley. What do you know about trees?
They produce oxygen.
Okay.
They make paper. They make pencils. And that's all.
Uh-huh. What about cardboard boxes? You ever anything from Amazon? Mm-hmm. Your parents get stuff from Amazon?
A lot.
Okay.
I just got something yesterday.
And yesterday. Oh, that's all the time, isn't it? Okay. What else about trees can you tell me?
I said everything.
You said everything? Okay. All right, Kinsley, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to Mind of the Forest, a podcast of the Louisiana Forestry Association. If you'd like to find out more about sustainable forestry, the LFA, and its programs that help landowners, loggers, and forest product manufacturers in the state, go to laforestry.com. Comments and episode suggestions can be sent to me by email. Send them to jzeringue@laforestry.com. That's jzeringue@laforestry.com. Or look in the show notes for our contact information. Remember, at the Louisiana Forestry Association, we're minding the forest for you.